So Melissa is a kitsch painter from Buenos Aires, Argentina. And there she studied at several ateliers and with Ricardo Selma. And Melissa is also a former pupil of Odd Nerdrum. She still goes back there. She's still in contact. So that's how we met each other. I'm very happy for that. Melissa and I became friends there. And I was able to, become acquainted with your work there. So that's where we first really, I guess, met, and I could see what you're doing, and that's part of why I think it was great to have you talk about this topic, is because I think you're just really great with the colors and using the sort of full range of the Apelles palette. So I think Melissa is amazing. She's a great painter, and that's why she's great for talking about the Apelles palette. And otherwise, I guess for those of you who don't know, we're doing a workshop together. You've probably seen that or heard about that. And the workshop is on the topic of the Apelles palette, where Melissa demonstrates a self-portrait. It's basically start to finish. I guess it's start to finish, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so she's painting on that while using the palette. She shows how to mix all the colors and everything like that. And then she's actually using it in her self-portrait. So do you have anything else to add, Melissa, about what is the workshop about? If you had to kind of break it down, what's the workshop?
Okay, first of all, thank you for your kind words, Nick.
Always.
The workshop, well, you said it, is about the Apelles Palette and how to use it. It includes a very short color theory talk, where I talk a bit about color and how to organize it and how does it work.
Yeah.
In the material way, because we have two different kinds of perceiving color, like the light and material. So right. We go to the pigment and the material and how to mix it and what happens when you mix it in different ways, and how to achieve a lighter color without losing saturation, or how to get a lighter color without saturation, like yes, different paths to get what you need in the palette. And after that, I show the beginning of a self-portrait since the drawing, and then how to apply all what I showed in the very beginning about color.
Yeah, what kind of what you're thinking about.
Yes, like, well, now I need to make the forehead lighter, but do I want it saturated or desaturated? And what about the cheeks? And what about the color in the whole face? Should I use a skin color? What is that? Does it exist? No. So I try to apply all the concepts and all the processes I showed in the very beginning of the class in the practice.
Yeah.
Because you can have the color theory, but then what to do with it?
Exactly.
No? So yes, I show how to use it from the very beginning of a painting till the very end. Anyways, it's a very short demonstration, right? So a painting could continue and keep going till the very end of the times.
Right. That's that's where I was a little bit like, is it start to finish? It's basically start to finish. I mean, I think many people would be happy to call that a finished painting, but of course, we know you can keep working and working and working.
Yes, I mean, I haven't touched that painting since then.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's finished, and probably after a while I will continue with it because I like it and I think it have something I could continue with. But I think that in painting, the process is circular. We always talk
Yeah.
about time in our school, no?
Mhm.
So in a way, it's always the same. And I
Right.
think I show the whole circle.
Yeah. Now you
Then
can
you
just keep going with that
yeah,
information. You just keep
exactly,
working on
exactly.
improvement there. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to show that the whole cycle of a
Mm.
painting,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean that it won't start all over again in the same painting,
Right.
no?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. Sometimes I mean, it's the same with the all the techniques, right? So you can just keep going, and layering
mhm,
up.
mhm. But the issue is what components are in the cycle.
Mm.
No, for example, I take it as, well, first you have the drawing, and then the masses of lights and shadows, and then
Mm.
you develop it a bit more, and then you glaze, and then you restructure the drawing, and then you adjust lights and shadows, and then you glaze, and then you adjust the drawing, and it's
Yeah.
all the way over and over again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And probably I show a cycle and a bit more of a cycle in
Yeah,
that
I think
painting.
so. I think there's
Yeah.
some extra little golden nuggets in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Some good
Yeah.
tips from you that are just a little bit beyond even what is totally, just painting with the Apelles palette.
Yes, well, I try also to share what I think while I'm painting.
Mhm.
So it's not only about the technique itself, but maybe what should be aware of while you are painting, like where to see
Yeah.
and why to see there, and why to keep going that way and not just
Well, so that brings up a question, Melissa.
hmm?
That brings
So
up a good question because
okay.
a lot of people talk about color theory and
Uh-huh.
like I mean, there's entire social media pages out there. I've seen like a guy, he has a whole endless supply of videos just talking about color theory.
Uh-huh.
So my question is, what part of color theory is important, or where do you get value out of color theory? Like, what are you thinking about when you're actually painting?
It's a good question. um I think that when you develop a craft, you have to be aware of the tools you use.
Yeah.
And in a way, color is a tool of our craft,
Mm-hmm.
as well as drawing and values and structure. So color is part, and color has a whole theory, and a lot of theories are developed around color. So I think that's why it's important at least to have a glimpse of what it is about.
Yeah.
No, what is color? Well, I watched several of those videos,
Yeah.
and I don't know if as painters we have to know it, like,
Right.
because we are not physicians.
Yeah, and we're not, we're also not making the color for somebody's house where you need like a chemical formula or something like that.
Exactly, but it's like, okay, so color is a physical uh, manifestation. It's a sort of the material way of looking energy.
Right.
Someone said something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's so metaphysical, but why is important for me to know something about color theory? Well, what I find practical
Mm-hmm.
there is to understand that you can have a base, like the primary colors, those which you can't mix, you can't get by mixing. You
Yeah.
just can't get them from the tube paint, no?
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So
and then
for us, yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say for us, like talking about the Apelles palette,
yeah,
That's just the white, black, yellow, red.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are our primary colors.
Yeah.
And by mixing those, you get the secondary colors.
Mm.
And by getting the secondary colors, you can find complementary colors.
Mm-hmm.
No? And I think to understand that, this helped very much on developing color in our painting, because if you're aware of the complementary colors, then you can play with the simultaneous contrast.
Yeah.
And as we don't use blue, well, it is a main thing to know how to use that, and color theory help us to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
So I try to find the theory color in a very practical way.
Right.
No, I don't know which is the vibration of the red. But I know that the red is the complementary color of the green, because green doesn't have red in its mixture.
Yeah, exactly.
So it will help them to vibrate more.
Yeah.
I don't know the measurements, but
you know how they work together, and you can place them in the painting. Yeah.
And then also, if you mix them, you break them and you create a very neutral color. And that's also part of the color theory.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. And that, so I just want to add really quick. We recently shared a video on Instagram, or if you've already purchased a workshop, then that's in part 1 of the workshop. But we took a short clip from the workshop, shared it on Instagram, and it's a lot of what Melissa is talking about right here, about how the colors kind of break down. And I think it's really interesting what you did in explaining that, where you not only considered, is it mixed from certain colors, like the green is mixed from the yellow and the black, but then when you're actually using that in your painting, you need to make it lighter and darker, like we talked about. How do you do that? So to me, that's a very practical part here, is like what all makes up that secondary color, because that's what you need to be thinking about when you're actually going to put that into your painting, right?
Yes, and by knowing all of this, the typical way to make a color lighter is by adding white.
Yeah.
And to make it darker is by adding black. But it's like to be very literal. No? And when you are practicing color, you can't be literal, because everything will look very gray. No, everything will get flat. And if you are aware of what I was saying before, like, okay, the green is mixed of yellow and black, I can make it lighter with white and also with yellow, because it's the lighter part of green. No.
That I see. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I see that all the time with fabric, especially. I think it happened to me. It happened to me, and I see it has happened to many painters, where it's like the first time you're painting fabric, and it has a certain color to it, like maybe it's green. You just think like, oh, I should add white to make it lighter.
Yes.
Right? But then you discover, oh no, maybe I need yellow. And I think that's kind of like a groundbreaking moment when you realize.
Yes, and with red,
important part.
with red fabrics,
the red especially.
A lot. It's like, I will make this red lighter, and then you get a pink. It's like, no,
you don't
it's
want the pink. Yeah, exactly. And then you have to add yellow.
Yes.
To make it a red fabric, it's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah. So everything is about to not get literal, no?
Yeah.
But to not get literal, you have to know a bit about the theory, and then how to apply it.
Yeah.
and then internalize it and make it natural, which is the whole.
Yeah, that's the practice. That's I would recommend for everyone to at least watch that video on Instagram. Even if you don't want to be a part of the workshop, at least watch that video, because that is what you should be practicing all the time. That's what you should be mixing up on your palette if you want to get this full array of colors. At least if you're going to be, trying to find those complements, trying to play with the saturation. Do you want high saturation or low saturation? I think that's a very important concept, which is that you're considering what all goes into it, and then what do you want the result to be. And if you have all that stuff mixed out, then maybe you don't have to think as much about it, or just going through the process of practicing that, you can better understand how they all work together.
Yes, and also you can push it even further. Like, okay, if I have this gray made of black and white and I surround it with the orange, it will turn blue.
Yeah.
But also, if I have a background which is orange and I put the gray on top of it, like a glaze, it will be even bluer.
Yeah, right.
And I can glaze with orange and then put more gray on it, like make create the layers of simultaneous contrast, to push the blue even bluer than it could be if only you paint one layer of painting.
Yeah. And the other colors as well. That's an interesting point. Like having the browns and having some of those darker blacks also contributes to it and makes the colors come out. So I have a really interesting photo to show later. It's a painting by Odd Nerdrum, and it's one of his sort of outdoor. I don't know if I would call it summer, but it's a storytelling painting, and it's just got a really beautiful blue there. So I think that kind of ties into all of this simultaneous contrast talk.
Oh, yes, I want to see it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. But okay, I'll ask you some more questions, Melissa. I've got a lot of questions for you.
Oh, please.
Okay, first of all, maybe some people aren't very acquainted with the Apelles Palette. So could you just give a short introduction? What is the Apelles Palette? What goes on the palette? Yeah.
What is this? So we could start saying what is a palette, no? And we can understand a palette as a selection of colors, no? I will select this amount of colors and I will use them for my painting, and that will be your palette. Yeah. In this case, this is a very reduced palette because count in 4 elements, in 4 colors, which are black, red, ochre, and white. And then appears this discussion we already had before.
Yes.
Because we call it Apelles Palette because of Apelles, which was a painter from the 300 before Christ.
Yeah.
No?
Ancient Greece.
And he was Alexander Magnus painter.
Yeah, he painted his portrait. Yeah.
His portrait, and he was in the court in a way, right? In the emperor's house, painting there, and so we don't have any painting from him, like any painting is left, but we have texts from Ovid and Plinius the Older that talks about him, and they have a lot of stories about him. Many, plenty of.
I have a great story to add to that. I'll save it.
Okay, and what Plinius says is that he as well as others uses only 4 colors. Like in that period, it was common to use these 4 colors, and are not the pigments that we can get nowadays. That was why we had the discussion.
Yeah, we had a little discussion about is it still the same palette, because we have different colors.
Because I have it here. Because he uses this Tramentum as black, and white from Melos, and ochre from the Attic, and the red of Sinope from Ponto. I don't know what are those pigments.
I'd be very curious to know what that would translate into in like modern terms.
Sorry?
I said I would be curious to know what that translated into in modern terms.
Our times, yes.
Yeah.
In modern terms.
Yeah.
But
like how we call it.
It's like the pigments were from different places.
Yeah.
Like the white from Melos was a place, and the white was pigment brought from there. And Sinope was a place, and the pigment was this red was brought from there. So
I guess it probably doesn't even exist. Like the actual knowing what element is there, like which part of the earth does this come from? That's probably lost to history, because a lot of the information has been destroyed.
Yes, but it's true that every place in the world has its own pigments.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, for example, like, is it ivory black versus Mars black? Is it coming from which different?
Well, I don't know now, because the pigments are mostly artificial, like made in home in a way.
Yeah.
They are created. But what I find the important thing now, I think, is to be aware of, for example, the blacks. Mars black is more neutral than ivory black. Than ivory black, because it's warmer, and also it turns long. It takes long to be dry, to get drier.
Yeah.
Like the ivory black takes longer to be dry.
Yeah.
No.
But the Mars is cooler.
It's cooler. Yeah. Yes, but in relation with all the blacks, like you have ivory black, Mars black, the grape black.
No, I think you just English. You just misspoke. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands this. The reason we use the Mars black is because then it complements the orange, right? Or the rest of the palette. It's a little bit cooler.
It's cooler than ivory, but it's warmer than the grape.
Yeah.
So in that way, in the range of blacks, is the most neutral.
Yeah.
But in the common black is the ivory black, but we use Mars because it's cooler. Yes, absolutely. I don't know if it will be good to use a very blue black as the grape black, because you need to make maybe to mix oranges. Like if you want to make an orange darker, it's like too blue.
Right.
No.
I mean, then you just run into the problem you would have with blue as well, which is just that it's too saturated. You'd have to always balance it back out. Like you'd have to add more orange into it, or
to break it a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, because it turns very like vibrant, no?
Yeah.
And put you out of the.
Right. Yeah. Then you're not harmonious anymore.
But which was the question? What's the Apelles palette is?
Yes.
So yes, it's a combination of colors. It's is these 4 colors combined,
Right.
and only those, to create a whole range of mixtures. And yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it was used on before this white, how do you call it? The not the titanium, but the other one, the
Like lead white.
lead white. Yes, exactly. Before it was that one, but then it turns dangerous, and the titanium is fine.
Yeah, especially.
Yellow ochre, yes, especially
if you're going to use sandpaper or something like that. Yeah, lead white, it would be a nightmare.
Yes, yes. I don't know. I haven't used it. I'm a bit afraid of it. It's like I prefer to use titanium.
Yeah.
And so we have the Mars black, titanium white, yellow ochre, and vermilion red. And we use particularly the Chinese vermilion.
Yeah.
Which is neutral. Is the most neutral, no? And what we want is in a way that, because if the red turns very orange, like there are many reds in the market, and if you use a very red orange, the violets won't work, as well as if you use a very cold red, as well as carmesí, how do you call it, carmine, no, this very violet red.
Yeah, but I understand.
For the oranges, it will be very, it won't help,
right?
No, you will get very browny oranges.
Yeah.
So we need a very neutral red.
Very red.
A very red. Exactly. And yellow ochre, yes.
Yeah. So that's, those are the 4 colors. And
yes,
do you think there's a benefit to having just 4 colors? I mean, why not have 30 colors? Why not have your full palette already, just tubes of paint?
Tubes of paint.
Yeah.
Well, when I was young, no, but I used to use a very big palette with a lot of colors, and my paintings were brown.
Okay.
Like the whole painting looked like brown. Okay. And then I started to use this very reduced palette, and it changed way too much. Like I find my paintings nowadays more like colorful than the ones that I used
all those colors
before.
Yeah. Well, why do you think that is?
Well, probably because I didn't know how to use color.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's now we're getting to something big, maybe.
I'm exposing my my troubles. No, but I think it's good to use, or I decide, or I pick this palette. I choose this to use this palette because in a way it's easier, no? As less you have, much more control you could get, no? And it has a whole range. You can get a whole range with so little, and that makes the process very magical in a way. I like that. And also it's a chiaroscurist palette, and I in a way I don't consider myself a colorist, even though I'm talking about color. I consider myself a chiaroscurist. Like I do care more about light and shadow, which is more stable than color. This is a talk we had with Odd once, that color is very unstable. If a cloud pass by and cover the sun, the whole range of colors in the nature will change. and then it gets darker and the colors will change, and then the sun appears. It's like every minute color is changing, but wood will always be wood, and water will always be water. Doesn't matter with which color it has. No. So I think that that sense or that feeling, you could get it by thinking about light and shadow, not very much about color. Has it sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you're trying to get to like the essence. What is the
substance?
Or what's the like the earth or the I think about earth like Rembrandt, you know, it's got weight. You feel that it's there, and it's not just like you said, the colors maybe are unstable and it's more superficial in a way. It's not, it doesn't feel like it's actually there. If you don't have you have to have all those values. Those are much more important.
And there is a painting by Odd called Drifting, which is one of my favorites, and there is a woman which is mostly purple, violet, blue, and she's still a woman and it's still skin, and I don't read it as an alien, I read it as a person. So I think that's an example of you don't need a color scheme. You just need to understand how light works in the skin.
Right.
No? And with this reduced palette, you don't have to worry very much about color. You just have to know the basics, like this color theory we were talking about before. And it gives you room to think about value. It doesn't mean that you don't have to care about color at all. But your mind won't be very stressed about that in a way, because it won't take too long or too much.
I completely agree. That's like for me, that's the single biggest thing that I like about it, and that I say is a great thing about it, is that you're not making things complicated. You're keeping it simple. If you have a ton of colors on your palette, then you have to do so much work. You have to think so much about how things are working together. Compared to with this, you just have those four and you know how they mix out, and it's much easier to just keep that in your mind. So when you go and you paint with it, you're just getting to that result much quicker.
And also as it's a very short amount of elements in your palette, you're pushed to use them all at the same time, but in different proportions.
So you have to blend them.
That helps a lot to the painting, to make it looks like a whole thing, not separated. And also it pushes you to not be literal, because you have to mix the colors and to find them. If you have a whole palette full of colors and you have to paint a plant, well, you will use green, and then you have a person there, and then you use brown, no, and you will get the color you need from your palette. And here you have to think, no, to not be literal. So in a way, is to be a little more poetic while you're painting, no?
No, definitely. I mean, compared to if you think about Cezanne.
Cezanne, okay.
Cezanne didn't, he didn't mix the colors, right?
It's literal.
Yeah.
Like the Kantian.
Kantian way, yes.
No, don't mix the colors.
Keep it pure.
But also we as sketch painters, we observe nature, no? And all the colors in nature are broken. So we have to break our colors as nature does. And this palette push you to do that because you don't have any other chance. If you want to make it green, then you have to break colors to get it. No?
Yeah, completely. I think that's a
and
good.
I like what you said in the video, that the palette gets all the human body's colors. Like there is no color that you cannot get from that palette, and in a way it's an anthropocentric palette.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. And that's I mean, if you're interested in painting the human body, why should you be focused on anything else? Right?
Exactly.
Why focus on bright colors?
If you paint landscapes, but an anthropocentric landscape, we use Apelles Palette.
Yes.
Yes. Well, yes.
Maybe then we feel more connected to
the colors. You'll be more recognized.
So this, okay, the point that I wanted to, the story that I had earlier about the blending. It's about the blending, which you talked about.
Okay.
So I think this is very interesting. Aristotle actually talked about this. He talked about the blending of colors because he observed in a glass prism. Do you know that is like a little glass box where light goes in, and then when it comes out, it's a rainbow, right?
The Newton, no?
Yeah. So you get the full rainbow just from daylight coming into the glass prism. So Aristotle's idea was that you have to actually blend colors in order to achieve a sense of light. Because he's thinking about it the backwards way. Okay, if you want to get actual daylight, or you want it to feel like it's light, then you need to blend all the colors together. So that was perhaps some kind of philosophical insight into what they were thinking about, like with the Apelles palette, like these colors are all it takes to blend and to get the light.
Blend the colors to get the idea of light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And it's funny also because nobody really attributes Aristotle with that discovery, even though he talked about it. It's not talked about until sometime around Newton. There was somebody, or maybe it was Newton, I don't remember, but it's somebody else who is like attributed with discovering the rainbow, right? But they've been talking about it since ancient Greece.
Yes. Well, there's plenty of color theories. It's not, and Newton was the first, no. But before, even Aristotle said like black was one of the primary colors.
Yeah.
Not blue.
Yeah.
Yes, because they do care about the elements on Earth, like fire, earth, metal, and air. I don't remember very well. I must say.
Yeah.
But they do care about the elements and which color represent that element.
Okay. That makes sense.
Water was green, so green was a primary color, something like that. Was very different.
Okay.
Was very different from the information we manage now.
Right. Well, okay. So we have the four colors, and I think you explained it. But a lot of people still ask. Everyone is always commenting on the videos, and they say, "Why is there no blue? Why don't you have blue, or why don't you have these bright colors?" So why don't you have blue, Melissa?
Why you want to use it? Why do you want it? No, just use it if you want it. I mean, the palette is reduced, and it takes these four colors, and that's the palette. And you don't really need it. But if you add blue, then you have to harmonize it with the whole thing,
Yeah.
which takes very long, and maybe it's too vibrant. Like it's out.
Yeah.
It's what I said before about the palette. A palette is a selection of elements that you will combine to
Hmm.
make a range of colors. And in this palette, blue is not,
Hmm.
because the blue is the black.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
That's a good point.
You can be very dogmatic, which is fine, and just don't add anything else than those colors.
Mhm.
Or you can be a bit more expansive. I've seen all that in violet
Yeah.
sometimes in the glazes, but those
But it's,
additions are for certain parts, like
mhm.
accents.
And it's
No.
also, yeah, but it's also not, I guess one point to make is, well, I have a couple of funny ideas about it, but I'll just say he's very minimal with it, right? Like you said, it's a very small amount, and maybe it's like
Mhm,
a glaze. So it
mhm.
would arguably be something you could achieve even with the Apelles palette. It's almost just like a shortcut. But I have a funny idea, which is that he likes to save his paint. So he doesn't want the violet to go to waste. And that's why he uses it.
Wait, how is it he doesn't want his painting to waste?
No, he doesn't want to waste the paint. He has the violet paint that he's had for many years, and he doesn't want it to be a waste, you know. He wants to do something with it.
Oh, I see. Oh, you think that's why?
It's like the canvas, you know, the textured canvas that everybody likes to copy from the oil
Uh-huh.
ground where he builds up and it's like you have all these crazy shapes around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people try to copy that, right? And they are confused about it, but he's not building it just for that canvas. He does that because he doesn't want to waste all the oil ground,
All
you
the
know?
ground, all the preparation.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
like
know.
let's make something good out of this. Let's not just
Yeah,
throw
don't
it to
throw
the
it
trash.
away.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, so with color is kind of the same.
No, it's just a funny idea. It's I
Okay,
don't know,
okay. Well,
but
it
it's
could be. It could be.
a funny
I
one.
don't think that he will do it just because on his paintings. I don't know. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, of course. But I think maybe it's more like a shortcut. Like it's easier to just use a little tiny bit of violet and then you don't have to rework so much.
hmm, hmm. Yes, I think it's just an effect.
Hmm.
No?
Yeah.
It's not the main painting. It's
Yeah.
not the structure. It's not like the base of the painting. It's an additional thing.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because um, I mean he mastered the palette.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you master something, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. And if you know, like, yeah, that's the point again about the subtlety, that he's using a very small amount. So it's not like uh many people when they use blue, then they're putting blue into the painting exactly as blue. And
Yes,
then
but
it
that's
becomes too extreme.
literal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we don't want to be literal.
Yes.
We don't want that. So that's why I think use as less as you can to get the best that you can,
Hmm.
and then add the blue if you want. But first master the little the yeah.
Yeah. You need to master the four colors and the simple version before you're trying to do something revolutionary, right?
Yeah, it's like why to run if you don't know how to walk.
Yeah.
Maybe it's too much that example, but because I think we live in a time where everyone is running,
Hmm.
like yeah, I want to do this, and I want more and more and more and more, and this feeling of accumulation, and
Yeah.
it's like the if you have a little, then you want more, and with only 4 colors, you can do a lot. And also what I think is important or interesting is that what we talked before, we use the same palette and our paintings look in a color way very different.
Right.
No, and as well as the rest of the kitsch painters, we all use the same palette, and all the paintings looks very different in thinking about color. So why to think that is very reduced?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. It's you have a very wide range of possibilities, and people, not even by intention maybe, are going to go in very different directions. It's like a little bit by accident. You can do totally different things.
Well, you can see it also in odd, like the summer paintings, and the palette looks very much different than the winter paintings.
Yeah.
Right.
That's I was actually I was thinking that's a funny point, because a lot of people talk about it being like the muddy, dark, dirty palette, right?
Yeah, but what about the painting of Mindin, for example? No, that is so all bluish and green and all this light there.
Yes. I wanted to show that. I don't have that photo. I wanted to show that as an example here today. I wanted to show that because
and those paintings are like magical. It's like but I think that to catalog the palette as a very muddy palette is because you haven't taken the time to explore it. No? Because it has it's a huge, it's infinite. I don't know if it's infinite because it's reduced, but it's not just mud.
Yeah.
No?
In a way it's infinite. I mean,
in a way, yes. Yes, it's infinite.
So, Melissa, have you heard of the Happy Palette?
No, and I want you to tell me about that. What is that? I mean, I knew that you were going to ask me that, but I didn't want to ask you before because I want you to tell me.
Okay, that's very funny. Okay, well, the painting you just talked about, the one with Mindin, like she's like jumping in the air.
Yes.
That's one where Odd said, like, this is the Happy Palette.
Oh.
Because he has all these bright colors, and it's like blue and green and this yellow green and all these different colors. They're all mixed around. And he said so many people would come to see his paintings for like at exhibitions, for example. People will say, oh, this is a dirty, muddy palette. Why is it so dark? Why is it so brown? All these types of things. And so he said, when I make these summer paintings, I have to use my Happy Palette. And then everybody can have the happy bright colors and see that it's like you can get the sort of full rainbow with the palette.
Okay, but we have to clarify that is the same palette.
It's the same colors. It's the exact same colors. Yes.
But
it's still
you can
just
make
the 4 colors.
if you want.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So it's not it's like he just jokes that he makes like the tragic paintings, but then when he needs to make a summer painting, he has to make the Happy Palette. So he mixes, maybe more blue is on the palette, like Apelles blue is on the palette, more bright green, stuff like that.
Well, but what you're saying is very interesting, because then the palette opens up to you for the topic you want to paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, so if you want to paint a very dramatic or tragic painting or a storytelling painting, then the palette is okay. Go for it.
Yeah.
I can do it. And if you want to paint a happy painting, the palette is there for you as
It's ready.
well. No,
Yeah, absolutely. If
it's
you
a
want,
good friend. It's a
you can
very
make
good friend.
a, yeah, it is. Even the nighttime painting, you can paint a landscape, anything. It's endless.
It's endless. That's why I use it. That's why we use it, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Me too. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, okay, well, that was the last question I really had to ask you, but we're running short on time, so we should open up for questions. If anybody has questions for Melissa, send it to the chat. We're gonna answer anything. If you want to know more about these funny palettes or anything at all.
Oh, but if there is questions for Nick, please. But it's a question for us, not only for me.
Okay. It's a question for us, but you do the speaking.
Okay. We can build it together. Come on, Nick. Don't be mean. What kind of medium do you use? I in the very beginning I used turpentine to have a very thin painting and not very oily, not at all. After that, in the second layer, I try to not use any medium, like the pure painting. And
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Sorry. I misunderstood it. But yes. So the first layer, when you're first putting paint on the canvas, that's when you use your turpentine. And then
yes,
after that, once it's dry, then you're just not using medium.
yes, or maybe it's not dry, but I know it's not oily, so I can paint on top of it with a most oily painting. No.
Yeah. Okay.
And on top of that, sometimes I use linseed oil mixed with turpentine to make some glazes. I also use liquid. This alkylic.
Yeah.
Is how you pronounce it, alkylic. Because it dries faster, and I like the how do you say it, the texture of it. And I also use it when I'm a bit lazy of mixing the turpentine and the linseed oil. I didn't have to say that. No, but I also use the alkylic.
Yeah. Okay.
For glazes, particularly.
Just
what do you
say,
use?
yeah. Well, it's basically the same. I don't use liquid. I've tried it before, and it has some good qualities, definitely. But it's mostly turp and linseed oil, and I have a new favorite now though, which I need to buy more of it. But it's lavender spike oil.
What is that?
It's a solvent that's made from lavender.
Oh, lavender, the flower.
Yeah. And so it's like a very natural version of turpentine, because the modern turpentines, it's always like this weird chemical, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not turpentine, it's like a terpenoid.
I know it doesn't come from the trees anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So the lavender spike oil is actually from lavender, and so it's just like ground down, and they go through that process to make it, and it smells really nice. And I just think like logically, I think it must be less toxic than the stuff that they make now, which is like it's supposed to be fragrance free, like the non-smelling stuff.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think it's very dangerous. I mean, imagine that you have a little bottle with it, and it doesn't smell.
Yeah.
You drink it. I don't know. I have very
but see,
bad feelings about it.
it's still like I've noticed before, like it will kind of burn my eyes or my nose. So it's like it's still toxic, but you
Yeah.
just don't
Well,
smell it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It doesn't
So,
matter if you don't smell it. It's solvent. It's an oil solvent.
yeah. So the lavender, that's my favorite actually.
I researched on it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, I'll send you some.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Okay. What grade sandpaper do you prefer?
What grade of sandpaper?
Like what
Depends.
number?
Yes. I never know that. But what I'm
You feel it.
practical. I
Yeah.
don't know measurements or numbers. I just like the sensation. And when I start with the painting, depends on the painting.
Yeah.
Like if you're painting very thin,
Yeah.
then you won't use a very rough sandpaper. No, if you want to take it all away, then use the rough sandpaper. If you want to make, if you want to use it to make textures, well, what kind of texture? Very thin and delicate or not?
Yeah. That's the
So it's not
problem. Yeah.
that I go to the store and I buy one sandpaper. I have a range of sandpapers, and
Yeah.
depends on what I'm going to do is the one that I will use.
Yeah.
Did I answer?
To to give a number, I I usually use 120, 120 grit. That's generally the best in my view because you get a nice texture from it. You're not digging too deep, and it's also not going to create so much dust. That's why I don't really go finer than 120 because you can create like the dust in the air, you know.
Hmm.
So that's maybe more of like a practical reason. If I would get smoother and I don't want to make so much texture, then I would use a palette knife instead. And of course, it's possible to go rougher as well. Maybe 100 grit or 90 grit. That can be good if you're painting if you're really thick with your paint.
Hmm. Hmm. But you used to use 120.
Yeah, that's more like pretty much what I use. Yeah,
Hmm.
and also with the palette knife.
Okay, I don't used to use the palette knife to make textures.
Mm. Yeah, you should try it. It's got some different type of effects that you can get. So it's maybe more suitable if you're doing like a thinner type of painting, not so much impasto.
Hmm.
Maybe in like the earlier layers.
You will try.
Okay, Robert Dale Williams.
Hi,
Do you
Robert.
use a particular yellow ochre? Have you ever used Old Holland Yellow Brown as an Apelles Palette Yellow? I found it very punchy, but I really like it.
I use yellow ochre made of Argentinian industry. So, but in comparison with the Old Holland Yellow Brown,
Mm.
it is less warmer.
Yeah.
It's more like greenish in a way. Just to make an idea, no, it's not green at all, but it's not because I find the Old Holland Yellow Brown more orangey,
Mm.
no,
Yeah.
and this one is more greenish
Yeah.
in tendencies. Okay, no, it's yeah. I really like the Old Holland Yellow Brown, but as you said, it's very punchy. Depends on maybe for lights, it's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful because makes the painting even more vibrant than the one that I use.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
but I think that if you have that one, is the best one.
Yeah. I agree. That's I usually use the yellow brown, but sometimes I use the ochre. Also, you know, if you're going to cover a lot of space or you're trying to make like the background, for example, like the
Yes.
brown or some sort of colors where you don't need as much of that punch of yellow.
Yes.
Then it's good. I mean, you can save money and just use the ochre because the ochre is still good.
I agree completely. Same. Like the old Holland, the yellow brown is for afterwards layers, no?
Yeah.
To think more about color, like in itself.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, like if you need that really bright, like like a highlight, for example, with just white
Exactly.
and yellow.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Same.
So Eric asks, do you find your mixing more intuitive or do you get specific? For example, for orange, do you mix until you get what looks and feels right, or do you mix such as 2 parts red to 4 parts yellow? So is it more like you're just mixing until it looks right, or is it like a sort of formula?
I think it's more intuitive than because if I get very like intellectual about it while I'm doing it, I
Yeah.
lose the painting.
Mm,
I
interesting.
I mean, it's important to see the palette and be aware that everything that happens in your palette will happen in your painting. But I think that we think with the eyes.
Yeah.
Like you have to see the color and try it on your painting and check if it is worthy, because maybe you say, okay, I will mix an orange and I will take 2 parts of red and 2 parts of yellow, as you said, and then I put it on the painting and it's like, oh, I no, it's
Right.
not working.
Yeah.
So you have to think, okay, I need orange, I will mix ochre and red. And what I do think, yes, is, do I want it saturated or not? I
Mhm.
want a high orange or a down orange, like
Mm.
a lighter or darker, and then I try it in the
Mm.
painting and see if it works.
Yeah.
So it's a whole process of in a practical way, not very much intellectual.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. And it's also to your point, um something I think that kind of makes it easier to identify is like once you get experience mixing up that color many times and you start to see once you add other colors to it, that will also tell you, like if you start to add the white to the orange, sometimes that will make it more clear, like, okay, this is too yellow, versus if it's too red, it will start to appear pink if you add the white. So is that type of relationship as well? Like, how is this working with your other colors?
hmm. So you said that you sometimes add white to see how is it working.
I mean, not intentionally. It's just, okay, I need skin colors. So naturally I have like some orange that I'll mix with the white, maybe a little bit of gray,
I
or
see.
the magic mud. And once you start to add those other colors, then it becomes more clear because it's the comparison. So if you're just looking at the orange really close, you might not see that it's too red, but then you put it next to your green or you put it next to your gray, and then you see, okay, this is too red.
Hmm. Exactly.
So Susan asks, some yellow ochres are more red while some appear more greenish. Any
Mhm.
recommendations on a particular yellow ochre that is neutral? I personally, I use the Old Holland yellow brown for the bright yellows, and then if I'm going to substitute, I like the Winsor and Newton brand yellow ochre. I think is pretty good. It's, it's
Yes.
it's relatively cheap, but it's still is good quality.
Hmm. I agree completely.
Okay, so Sheila, do you sand your paintings like Nick does Does yeah. Do you sand your paintings like I do, Melissa? I guess we talked a little bit about that, but when do you sand your paintings?
Yes, I use the sandpaper in, I think you too, like in many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can use it to get textures, no? Like I want to increase the structure of this arm, so I'll use the direction of the sandpaper to increase it, to make
Yeah.
it stronger, as well as if I want to make it like more like, how do you say it, like
Matte. Matte.
glossy,
So it's not. It doesn't reflect light.
like, how do you say it when it is like cloudy, like
Yeah. Oh,
fuzzy.
fuzzy. Yeah.
Yes, I use it to destroy a bit the drawing,
Hmm.
to make it more like integrated, like make a whole integration.
Right.
Then on top of that, I used to glaze. But I also, you can also use it to erase parts, like to take it out, parts of the painting. Yeah, I think to destroy drawing, to take it out, or to make textures, I use sandpaper for that usually.
So it's
But I
probably
only use, and I think this is interesting because if you use the canvas already prepared with gesso,
Mhm.
you use
Oh,
sandpaper, is hell.
yeah.
It's the worst.
Yes.
It's the worst because all the white starts to appear. So if you use sandpaper, make sure that that will happen. I mean, you will see that that will happen and it won't work very well.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to prepare your own canvas if you want to use sandpaper.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a good quality canvas as well.
The
Which I
linen.
know you are preparing and offering to the public,
Yes.
right?
So yeah, if anybody is interested in really high quality heavy linen, you can go to kitschmeister.com. I've got it in my Instagram. I can leave it in the chat as well. I'll type it in
Yes,
the chat.
yes, because it's already prepared canvas, but high quality.
Yeah.
It's not
Heavy
gesso.
linen.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and you know, I once talked with a restoration woman, and she told me that if you want to paint with oil, the best you could do is to have a ground made of oil,
Yeah.
and to make the whole thing like a family. No, it's a oily family. If you will paint with acrylics, then it's fine if your ground is made of gesso, because gesso is an acrylic. But if you paint with oil on top of gesso,
Yeah. It's not binding.
no, we don't know what will happen in the future, and it won't get together very well.
I'm very passionate about this subject, Melissa. You have no idea. We have to have a whole nother discussion for this because it drives me crazy. And they say that gesso is better, but we've only seen, the modern gesso has only been around for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes, why they say it's better if they haven't tried it?
It's better because the almighty dollar. They make money.
Oh yeah, I see. Yes, yes.
Okay, so then Sheila also asks, have either of you used natural pigments oils? I don't think I have. I don't think I have. I've heard of them, but I've never tried anything. So
No, I met a woman from Ireland who used to prepare her own paintings with natural pigments from where she is.
yeah.
But it's the most close I have been to using natural pigments, just knowing a woman that used to do that.
Is that maybe? I think maybe she was. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know what exactly, Sheila. If you were asking about natural pigments or I think it's a company called Natural Pigments also.
Oh, okay,
Brand,
I
yeah.
misunderstood.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Paul asks, magic mud.
Yes, you said that. What is that? I am asking too.
Oh, I have my jar of magic mud right there. So the magic mud, Melissa, come on, you have to know this. It's just your leftover paint or the residual paint that gets left in your jar when you're using your brushes, and maybe you clean off your palette and you don't have anything to do with the paint, so you can just put it in there. And so the magic mud is that mixture of all your wasted colors that are just blending together, and they're all muddy and gray, and it's so beautiful. So what I do is I take, my palette, if I have some wasted paint that I don't need, or even, sometimes the hard paint will have a little bit of good stuff still underneath it, under the skin. You can take all that, you put it into a jar, and you mix a little bit of your medium in there, a little bit of, maybe just a little bit of turp, a little bit of oil, mix it around, and you just keep building the supply. And now you've got this beautiful neutral gray brown, like muddy color. And so you can use that in your painting, and anytime you need, let's say, to neutralize, or you need to blend an area, something like that, it could be an idea to use the magic mud, because it's the blending of everything, right? It works with everything.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's the idea. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend
I haven't done that.
Yeah, you should try it.
I should try it. Yes, I will. I mean,
Paul, you love the chalk ground technique? Yes, that's something we've learned from Odd Nerdrum, and it's really interesting. He thought that was the best sort of method, and he wasn't sure. And one day he had it confirmed when he was like listening to some kind of talk from an art historian or somebody who was a Rembrandt expert or something like that. And she actually said that that's the type of oil ground that Rembrandt used. So it's very interesting. He kind of intuitively reached that same sort of conclusion, even though he wasn't totally sure about it. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing, Paul. Nick, I tried your chalk ground technique, but it makes the layer after it is dried so shiny and oily. What should I do later? Scrape it? Yeah, so if you're on my Patreon, I have like a full tutorial on the Patreon about how to mix it and how to apply it and everything. And so when you apply that to the surface, you have to scrape it off. So as you're applying that onto your canvas, you want it to be as thin as possible. So you go over it with a big palette knife, and you're scraping it all the way down until you get everything off that you possibly can get off.
Well, the ground is the imprimatura, right? And imprimatura, in a way, comes from at least in Spanish, from printing, no? Es una impresión. It's an impression, you said in English as well. So it should feel like it is impressed, like the ground is impressed on the canvas. It's not on top of it, it's part of it.
Do you know what else, Melissa? I am impressed.
Are you?
That was a very good explanation.
Nice.
That's a great way to think about it, because when you see the weave of the canvas and it's overlapping, you're trying to fill in the holes. You're trying to fill in the valleys of the canvas. If you think about it like mountains and valleys, you're trying to actually get down. So like she said, you're like, yeah, you're making the impression. That's very interesting. Wow.
I don't know if Imprimatura comes directly from that ID, but I think it should be.
Yeah, but it's certainly
It has sense.
connected. It's connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It has sense.
very interesting.
All
So
natural pigments were the company. What's the company?
yeah. So it's the
Okay.
company, yes. I haven't tried. So I can't say anything. I can't say anything good or bad, but
Yeah,
I
I don't know it.
haven't. Yeah. I imagine Odd taught that. What chalk? So yeah, the chalk can be difficult. It's
Explain.
it's calcium carbonate. That's the important ingredient. It's like marble dust, but the tricky part, you'll kind of figure out when you're mixing it with oil, because sometimes you can buy a chalk that's a little bit too fine, or it's made for a different purpose. So there's some chalk which is made in order to make like a cast, for example. It's made for casting. I don't know if you've heard of that, Melissa, but um, yeah, there's many different kinds. If you just look for marble dust that has calcium carbonate, and it should say something about that it's used for like making gesso or something
No.
like that, then it's okay. No, the chalk can be used. Yeah.
Okay.
But the problem is that they add so many other things to the gesso. It's not just the chalk. Yeah.
It must be just chalk, just the
Yeah,
carbonate chalk.
just chalk. But
Mhm.
I'm saying it's a positive sign. Like you probably have the right stuff if it's advertised as some kind of like thickening for your paint, or if it's advertised as like can be used for gesso or oil ground, then it's probably
So
the right stuff. Yeah, then it's good.
yes, that is good.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean we are about out of time, and there's no more questions, so
More questions.
um I think we can call it a day, Melissa, and it was fantastic to have you as always. It's great to talk to you. Thank you everyone for being here. Mark, thank you for being here.
Thank
Everyone,
you,
thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
And if you're interested in the workshop, that's I should say, there's still a discount. It will be available for the next week, and the workshop is released, so you can watch the workshop today. It's available, and you can use this discount code. I'll type it in the chat. Early bird. If you type early bird at checkout in the promo code, you'll be able to get a 25% discount on the workshop. So that will be here for just the next week, and then we start in 2 weeks with the first live call for the workshop.
Where you will receive critiques on what you've been painting, or we could answer questions about the main course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the main that's part of the workshop as well, is that we will do 3 live calls with Melissa and myself. And if you want to have your painting critiqued, or you want to ask any questions about something that was talked about in the videos, or any other questions you have, then we can answer them during those live calls. Okay, well, Melissa,
Okay.
thank you.
Nick, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's a
Take care,
pleasure.
everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Same for you. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.